Hi, friends. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to my podcast, One in a Billion. And today I am excited to have Richa Chadha. She is a professional certified coach from International Coaching Federation. She is a leadership coach, mental fitness coach, women leaders coach, and a consultant. She is a zoology graduate from Delhi University, went on to do MBA and spent 6 to 7 years in banking, managing a branch, wealth management. And she was also a research scholar and a strategy associate in MIT Sloan School of Management, Boston. And she completed PCC certification of ICF in a record 7 months. And she is now pursuing Master of Science in Organizational Dynamics from University of Pennsylvania. Presently, she lives in San Francisco Bay Area, US. Richa is committed to help in transforming people's lives through her coaching skills. She is very passionate, driven, enthusiastic, open for learning, and dynamic. I am very fortunate and grateful to have connected with Richa. And it's indeed a privilege and honor to have her on my show. Richa Chadha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Satish, for that beautiful, kind introduction of yours. I'm super excited and equally honored to be on your show.
All right. So let me start with an interesting question. How do you have that sparkle on your eyes all the time?
That is, I think it mostly comes from the fact that I do what I love and I love what I do. So
Mhm.
it keeps me smiling and it keeps me motivated, and hence the sparkle.
Amazing. All right. So you were a banker for some point of time, about 6, 7 years. And how did this transition happen from a banker to becoming a coach where you're impacting people's lives?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, and I think the answer is in the question itself. So, even though banking was super rewarding for me, I performed well. I had some great mentors, and I got quick promotions, managed teams, went on to become one of the youngest branch managers in the country. But one thing that I was not prepared for was the increasing amount of stress and anxiety that I was facing in my role,
Hmm.
because it was front end, client facing, and banking is a super competitive space in India. So the stress and anxiety that I faced, Satish, and when I mashed it or tried to compare it with other women leaders, like colleagues of mine, one thing that really startled me was they were not even aware of the anxiety that they were facing or even mild levels of depression. They were going through
Hmm.
all of that, managing family, managing household, managing kids, then also managing the branch and doing all of those things, clients, and front facing roles. And being a branch manager, you have 100 things to take care of when you're in office, right? From accounting, team managing, client managing, operations, so many things. So I was like, there is something wrong. People are here just for the heck of it. They don't know that there is a life which they need to honor. So it kept bugging me for a bit. And then when life gave me an opportunity to take a step back, when I moved to the
Hmm.
US and I had the chance to maybe venture out of it, I took that. And I was like, I have been on that front side where I was facing all of these things. Now I want to be
Hmm.
on the other side where I want to help people create. I
Hmm.
want to create awareness, and I want to help people come out of that zone. And
Hmm.
essentially that does not mean coming out of the industry or your role,
Right.
but being
Hmm.
happy, and being more content, living a life
Hmm.
which is more fulfilling to them, and not just in the rut of things or just going about it. So I think that's my motivation, and that's how the transition happened from banking to coaching and psychology.
All right. Amazing, amazing journey. Richa, when you talk about this anxiety, stress, and mild level of depression in the employees that we see, um, there is a quote that is coming to my mind from a very famous author called Simon Sinek. I'm a big fan of Simon, and this is how the quote goes: "Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something that we love is called passion." So, on the one hand, you were saying that you were doing better, you were getting promotions, and you are one of the top performers. On the other hand, there is this constant level of fear, anxiety, stress. So, how do you see the difference here?
I think the quote that you shared, I absolutely love everything that Simon Sinek says. So, big fan. And I can so relate with what you mentioned. That was exactly it. Like I was doing something and I was pretty good at it, but maybe I was not passionate about it. I didn't like it that much that it would make the stress worthwhile, if I were to
Mm-hmm,
say. But now what I'm doing, it's something that I'm passionate about, and I'm ready to put in like as much hard work as it needs to get the word out there, to make an impact that I really want to see in the world, in women, in other people who are undergoing those transitions. So
mm-hmm.
I think I can just, speaking about it is fueling me so much, and maybe the sparkle in my eyes has even gotten bigger.
um, it's not only in banking industry, many corporates in India, whether it's IT companies or manufacturing, vast majority of people, about 80-85%, there is a study that says that 85% of the people who are going to some work are not happy waking up on Monday morning and reporting to work. And there is also research that says that the heart attack rates on Monday morning is very, very high compared to the other days. And particularly Sunday evening and Monday morning are the times when people are really vulnerable to these health conditions. So, also, I've heard somewhere Simon Sinek says that going to work is killing people. So I see a lot of ground to cover in terms of this employee wellness and how we can bring about a change. So where do you think we need to start? What do you think we need to address in these corporations and organizations?
And that's such a profound question, Satish. I think I can totally relate, first of all, to what you mentioned, like that sinking feeling that you get in your heart on Sunday evenings and Monday mornings. And there were times when I would fear that would happen to me. I
Mm,
am in my mid 30s now. So I was in my early 30s or late 20s when I was in the banking field. So I have limited experience of other corporates, as you mentioned, like whether it's consulting, manufacturing, or whatever. But in my field, I thought maybe the stress was so much that I would get a heart attack even when I was 28 or 29.
mm, mm, mm,
So I didn't know the reasons for those then. But
mm,
from my limited understanding, I'm pursuing a course in organizational psychology. What I feel the gap is that, and it's not only about India. So
mm,
US is a capitalist market. There are other developing countries in the world. So it's a common thing to see employees as only an employee number, a number
mm,
associated
mm.
with that person, and not
Right.
that human being for a human being that they are or he or she is. So I think that's where we need to start
Mm,
treating people as people, and not
mm,
as just one resource who is replaceable, easily replaceable. This is what's
mm,
happening. We treat people as folks who are easily replaceable. Doesn't matter, you treat them whatever way you want. He or she leaves, we get another one. And that's the
mm,
problem when you have a bigger job force, a bigger population, a lot of mouths to feed.
mm, mm,
That's actually true. You have 100 people competing for one role. So I understand that fact, but then there's a lot of cost attached to it as well. So it's not only from employee well-being, it's for the greater good of the organization also. Like if you have a
mm,
bigger attrition rate, there's a lot of cost attached to acquiring an employee, training that
mm,
person, giving that person the time that they need for, like, gearing up for the role. And then by the time they start, they already feel like leaving. So
mm,
I think the need here is to start treating people as people, and start taking some measures for employee well-being and their wellness, and giving them
mm,
that space to be themselves, and not
mm,
imposing things on them to be done in a certain way. Like, let them be creative, or if they have a need, like they want to talk to a coach inside, an internal coach if you have, or somebody who could just help them come out of whatever they're facing in their professional life, or I would say even personal, because you cannot separate a person from who they are at home and who they are at work. They are the same people. So at least for those things, there should be a place where they're able to talk to people and vent out if needed. So those are
mm,
some things that I feel could be the starting points.
mm. So you feel that the start has to be from the management side or the individual employees themselves?
Well, I would say both. The
Mm,
employees need to be aware, as I mentioned in my previous, story, that the colleagues whom I was working with, they were not even aware of what they were going through, and they
mm,
were just okay with it, because of course you have responsibilities, right? So
mm,
you just want to get that paycheck at the end of the month, and you're
mm,
okay with whatever happens during those 30 days to only see that amount come in on the 31st or the 30th. So
mm,
that shouldn't be there. I mean, if you have needs, you need to speak up, and more importantly, you need to know that you have those needs. So
mm,
to acknowledge that. And I won't say that I was very wise or I did those things, but yeah, if given a second chance, I would know what I want, and I would know that I need to communicate and how to do that. So that happens from the employee side. And from the employer side, of course, they need to, as I mentioned before, they need to start consider people as people. Otherwise, for the longest run, maybe it's good in the short term that people who are not performing, just chuck them out. People who are
mm,
a pain for you, just chuck them out. But in the long run, the loser is, of course, the employer. The employee will find
mm.
something or the other.
All right. That brings us to another quote of Simon Sinek. This is how it goes. A culture is strong when people work with each other for each other. A culture is weak when people work against each other for themselves.
That's so true.
Mm. In ancient times, we were chased by saber-toothed tigers, and we were running for survival. Now the things are not different either. You have people in the name of bosses, and when you get a call from your boss, you feel like you are being chased by a tiger. Um, so in India, particularly in India, where I had this other day, I had a call with Sunil, and he was telling about this patriarchal systems where, when there is a hierarchy in any office or organization, and you have to, there are certain rules that you have to live by. You have to call your manager a sir, and whenever he calls or she calls, you have to run to their cabin and be there, and the feeling of um, emptiness when you're at workplace, or when you have a constant feeling of you're not being heard, you don't have that place where you can voice your opinions. So all these things, all these factors are adding up to the stress and anxiety levels of employees. And also there is this culture of not enoughness or this grind culture where you go and say to your boss that, boss, I've mobilized 10 savings accounts today. And the boss is like, why not 20? And it's not enough how much ever that you can do. So how do we survive, or how what are the some of the things that we can look at in surviving this not enough culture?
That is a tough one. And it leads me to another Simon Sinek's quote. I think he should have been a part of this podcast. And well,
Easy.
in a way, he already is. So I don't remember the exact words, but what it says is that people do not leave a company, they leave their bosses. They quit
Correct.
because, of course, they do not have that synergy with their bosses. And I cannot agree with it more. And I think that is the answer to the question that you posed. That so when I was managing a team, Satish,
Mm-hmm.
I would ensure, even though in my team there were people who were much older than me, like almost 50-60% of them were older than me, I would have that bit of maturity that my 60-year-old manager, 56-year-old manager didn't have, which was to talk to people with respect.
Mm.
That's the only thing I'm asking, right?
Mm.
So, what I would do differently is not do the same things that my boss was doing with me or my colleagues. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only thing I would do, because it would make me feel so miserable. I would be like, I cannot let my team go through that. And that is one reason why my team stuck with me through
Mm.
whatever phase I was going through or my branch was going through. We were all in it together. We would face bad days together. We would celebrate good days together. So I think that not enoughness is ingrained in
Mm.
our societies today. And I won't say that it's only in corporates. I think it starts from when we are kids.
Mm.
And when sometimes, thankfully, it did not happen in my household, but I know of my friends, whenever they would bring a report card and that would say 90%, the parents would be like, why didn't you get 95? Your friend got 96 or your friend got 92. Where did you lag? And so we are not different people. Again, we are the same people who we are at homes, and we show up as same people at work. So this concept of not enoughness or not being sufficient should be eradicated, and maybe we should nip it in the bud right from the time when we become parents, or when we are
Mm-hmm.
kids, so that it's not there when we grow up and we don't bring the same thing into our organizations with ourselves.
Mm. Okay. Let's look at a hypothetical scenario, Richa. Let's say you are a CEO of a bank or any organization, or let's say you are in one of the executives in the top management. What would you do differently to bring about this change?
I think the one thing that I would do, or maybe a couple of things that I would do differently, would be to introduce the coaching concepts in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I would do the same with my one downs, two downs, and I would have them do the same with their subsequent teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
To distribute power, to not be the centers of power, to not dictate things and
Mm.
expect everything else to fall in place or just to happen exactly the way you said it.
Mm.
So I would have them see the teams as the centers of power, and the people actually who are getting the job done, give them the power, allow them to use their creativity, and maybe have them all undergo coaching training, not because
Mm.
I would want them to become a coach, but because the concepts are so powerful. Like,
Mm.
people need to be good listeners. Nobody listens to you. People only listen to their bosses. They do not ever listen to the people who are on the same level or people who are working below them. They need to be good listeners. They need to hold space for other people. They need to consider people as resourceful and whole and complete. So I think this is one basic big change that I would do to start with.
All right. Richa, I've very recently I came across this video that went viral on various social media platforms. There is this, I don't want to name the name of the bank. There is this executive openly screaming at people for poor performance, and it was a common meeting where 7 8 people are there, and this guy who was the area manager or somebody, he was yelling and screaming at people, and you must see the faces of those people who are on the call, and I'm very sure they are going through some tough times. So what gives this right to people, or what gives this right to this bosses, to yell and scream at people?
Nothing. They do not have any right whatsoever.
Mm,
And the reason that they do it is because that's what they see happening around them.
mm,
Maybe, their bosses do the same with them.
mm,
So, or maybe that's the culture that they see at their homes.
mm,
Because, you mentioned before that we have a patriarchal society.
mm,
So, and we are a very hierarchical one as well. So the seniors or the elders, seniors at
mm,
organizations, elders at home, they
mm,
think they know the best, and whatever
mm,
they say is the command or is the final word,
mm,
which is so untrue.
mm.
Like people people can learn from, like an 8-year-old can learn from an 8-year-old, and
Mm,
maybe several things, not only one thing or a few things. So I think, again, it definitely comes from the patriarchal or the hierarchical system that we are in. But
mm,
having said that, I feel that there is some change that we are in for. And
mm,
maybe this is the last generation of employees or workers or children who
mm,
are growing up in this. The next generation would solely and wholly believe in what you are for who you are, not
mm,
because of a position that you hold or because of your age.
mm. Right. Let's say if you're an employee, or if you're in the receiving end of this so-called verbal abuse, what are some of the tips that you can give to these folks who are in the receiving end?
Satish, not very long ago, I was the one who was on the receiving end. And I didn't know of any tips that would help me because I was miserable.
Mm,
And so maybe when now that I've completed my coach training and that I'm pursuing a program which is about psychology and how organizational psychology, not the clinical one. So
mm,
I think the tips that I have for them is, if you can't bear it, if you can't do anything about it, you don't
mm.
have to be there, right?
Right. Mm,
So that's one thing. If you can't bear it, change it. And if you can't change it, just go out. That place is not meant for you. So
mm,
I think that's the only thing I can say, because there's nothing else that helps a person when their ego is murdered. And I would not even say ego, maybe the self respect is
mm,
butchered
mm,
in
mm,
front of the whole wide world. So I don't think there's anything people can do to make them feel better. It's just that I would appreciate that person who made the video of the executive, you're talking about. A lot of those things should start happening to call the actions out and to bring these people
mm.
forward who treat people like, I don't want to use the word, but yeah, who treat people like they don't matter or they don't like
Slaves.
exist.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, like that's
mm,
actually slavery and butchering people like left, right, and center. So bring those people out, call them out, take action against them, take HR action against them. And if you, and most of the times actually, even the HR's hands are tied. Uh, you
mm,
know, the business is the one that
Right.
takes precedence. So if
Mm,
you feel you can't do anything about it, then maybe you just don't need to be there. You deserve something better. At times it may
mm,
be easier said than done. It has been easier said than done for me also, because you can't
mm,
keep changing jobs if your industry is maybe not the best place. But still, I would say, if you have a chance of finding a better person to work with, I would take that chance.
mm. Richa, I can deeply relate because uh, I was working for one of the best banks in the country to work for. Despite that, I chose to leave, and there are many people who are stuck and they don't know what to do in terms of if they're in a company for about 5-10 years and they kind of get very comfortable even with that stress, anxiety, and depression. They just try to manage all these things and just to pull along. And people told me that I was very courageous and took a bold step to come out despite me um, not having any of those scenarios. I was doing okay. I was quite happy with the job. But then there are this majority of these people who are stuck and they don't know how to find another job, or having this fear of if I go out of the job, how would I pay my EMIs, and how would I pay my bills and put food on the table for my family. So all these concerns, majority, I don't think they would take the bold step to come out. World is an open place, like it's an open market. You can go from one place to another until you find that perfect spot where you can, where you can be at passion. You wake up every morning interesting to come to work. So I want to see this beautiful world where majority of folks who report to work are happy and contented, fulfilled. And that brings me to one quote of Tony Robbins, and he says, "Success without fulfillment is an ultimate failure." And I've seen majority of people who are successful, yet they feel that they're not fulfilled, they're not contented in their life. So, what's your thoughts on this?
I think you've nailed it the way you said it, Satish. That is, but a lot of people don't realize it.
Mm,
So, for them, and I was one of them. So I was
mm,
lucky to have gotten a second chance and maybe take a second shot at my career and pivoting into something that I really want to do. But not everyone gets that. And I would, I think the only thing that I have to say is for people to follow the path that they truly desire,
mm,
because everything else in the end, it doesn't matter,
mm,
right? So, I mean, just follow what your heart says, get that contentment, get that fulfillment. If you're not getting
mm,
that from your job, maybe engage
mm,
in something after your job. Like if
mm,
you're a singer, if you want to pursue painting, if you want to go for dancing, just do that. Get that quota of contentment from wherever you want, from whatever nourishes your soul. So I would suggest that. And on another note, for people who are still stuck in jobs that they don't like or they don't want to pursue, I think they need to go out and talk about it and maybe engage with a coach. I think coaching is something we really need to make people aware of.
mm,
It
mm.
is, I think even a coach needs a coach. It is that
Right.
important.
Mm,
So seek a coach's guidance. I mean, not that coaches are supposed to guide, but
right.
engage with
Right.
engage with a coach, um, and maybe you'll discover something that you didn't even know yourself.
Great.
maybe you find a way to transition into something that you really like, and it doesn't have to be something where you need to pay. It can be something that starts paying you, and then both your life's purposes get taken care of,
Mm,
like you're getting paid to do something that you really like. I think that
mm.
is the ultimate best thing that could happen to somebody. So yeah, I think
Okay,
coaching is one big answer.
great. That brings to one. I have this book of Ikigai, if you know the word. So the meaning of Ikigai is um, when you integrate what you love, what you are good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. So yeah, this is turning out to be such an interesting conversation, Richa. To be very frank, and just being mindful of your time. And I just have a few more questions around your personal life. Growing up, or in college, or in coaching, what were some of your failures, and what did you learn from those failures?
I think so, Satish. I think I don't really look at my life in terms of failures.
Mhm.
I only look at them maybe like, learning opportunities, pivoting
Mm.
opportunities. I've pivoted a lot. You've done some research, and
Right.
you would know, like from zoology
Mm.
to MBA to business administration to banking, now to coaching, consulting, and all of these things, organizational psychology. So, however, at that point of time when I was, as I mentioned, in one of those toxic cultural environments at work, I thought maybe I was a failure because my boss needed to be a particular way with me. But then
Mm.
I, but when I saw them being the same way with everyone, except maybe one or two people, you always have that kind of uh, a pedigree in every
Mm.
organization where they are the boss's
Mm.
favorites. But for 80% of the people, if they are the same way, I stopped considering myself a failure. I was like, there's
Mm.
nothing wrong with me. If anything, I am probably one of the hardest working people.
Mm.
So yeah, I was never a failure. It was a failure on their part to not recognize the talent, or to not see me for who I was, and using their lenses to see everybody alike. So
Mm.
I think my learning from that was, we are whole, we are complete. I am
Mm.
not saying that we don't recognize our mistakes and we don't learn from them. We
Mm.
absolutely need to do that. Until the day we are alive, we need to do that.
Mm.
But letting somebody else's judgment cloud yours, and maybe cast an impression about yourself on your mind, is something that I would never ever do again. That happened to me at one point of time. I would never repeat that mistake.
Amazing, Richa. Um, Richa, the main purpose of human existence is we want to be successful, and we want to be significant. And um, this is bringing to mind another quote from Earl Nightingale, if you know him. He said that success is the progressive realization of pursuing your worthy ideal, meaning a person who knows what he wants to do and what his vision is, then that person is successful. And for many people, the meaning of success is different. For me personally, to have the freedom of time, and when I get up in the morning, whatever I want to do and something I feel very passionate about, if I'm doing that, then I feel successful. So, what does success mean to Richa?
It's a beautiful question, Satish. I think at the moment, success for me is waking up every morning knowing that I'm doing something that I really love and care about, and that I'm making a difference in people's lives. Somebody is
mm,
breathing easier because I helped them, or because I was in their life. That is the best feeling for me to have. So
mm,
when I wake up in the morning with a smile, and the Sundays and the Mondays are equal for me because I'm doing what I love.
right.
So that is success.
Wow, great. So, having reached here, what is the impact that you want to have on the world through your coaching techniques?
Oh my God, I could go on forever and forever. But yeah, a couple of things. One, I want to make people aware, as I've mentioned a number of times before. They need to be aware of their mental state, and especially from the country where we come, mental health is still a taboo. People don't
Right.
openly talk about it. I want to make this normal. I don't know
Mm,
whether that will happen or not,
right.
but I want to work really hard in seeing this as a normal conversation. And maybe even, like, we can, Satish, it's very easy for us to call up our managers or text our managers and say, you know what, I am running a fever and I cannot be at work today. I want
Mm,
it to be normal to say, you know what, I'm not mentally
mm,
feeling okay today. I cannot be at work because I'm feeling sick mentally, and it's absolutely
mm,
a normal thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with your
right.
body,
Mm,
but something in your head doesn't feel right.
mm,
So I mental health awareness, mental fitness, I like to call it.
mm,
And second, I want to work for women,
mm,
because as women in a patriarchal and a hierarchical society, we tend to face so many challenges right from the times we are born, right? So I want to tell women and let them know that they can let go of their guilt of maybe, not knowing how to cook, not spending time with their children. It's absolutely okay to think about yourself for a moment. Right from the
mm,
times we are born, we are thinking about other people. We don't need to. So
mm,
we could we are, and I'm not talking about who's superior. All I'm talking about is, we are better in some respects, the other gender may be better in some respects. All we need is mutual respect,
mm,
and no enforcements, and we should be okay with it, and we should not be the ones taking care of everything in the house and taking every care of everything at work. We should be feeling okay in delegating our tasks, and we should be feeling okay in letting things as they are. You don't need to
right.
do anything about everything.
Mm,
So um, I would love to coach women who are returning to work post their maternity. I'm already doing
mm,
some work in that area, and helping them shed off their mom's guilt.
mm, mm,
Then I also like to work with women who feel they've hit a glass ceiling, and
mm,
to shatter that and many more. So I want to do that. And third, maybe help women talk about their challenges to other women, to me as a
mm,
fellow woman. And in that respect, since I am in the United States right now, fellow Asians, Indians, or other
mm,
immigrants, the challenges that we face. So here,
mm,
being a woman is secondary. You have other first degree challenges of being an
right.
immigrant, and there are so
Mm,
many other things that come into picture. You do not have household help here. You're on
mm,
your own. So here, when I'm in the United States, I want to work with immigrant women as well. So that's my second
mm,
area of focus.
mm. Richa, you're doing an amazing work in whatever field you are in, and you are definitely making our world a better place. And I want to take a moment to applaud you and appreciate you for the amazing work that you're doing. And
Thank you so much, Satish. I really appreciate it.
yeah, and just one final question. Um, any interesting book that you read or interesting podcast that you've listened,
Hmm.
um, it could be of some help to some people who are listening. So can you share anything on that?
Yeah, I think my all-time favorite is from the god in the coaching industry, Marshall Goldsmith. What
Hmm.
got you here won't get you there.
Hmm.
This is a life-changing book, and
Hmm.
I think I can go on reading it again and again and again, and I cannot recommend it enough, not only
Hmm.
for people who are in coaching, but for people as general.
Hmm.
Uh, I think this provides so many gems.
Hmm.
So I think it's definitely a must read for everyone out there.
All right. Thank you for that. This is something that I have not come across. So I'm curious to find
Oh
out
my
more
God.
on this.
You
Yeah.
should definitely read it,
Right.
Satish, and then maybe we can have another discussion on it.
Sure, sure. Look forward to it. So, Richa, you spoke about having this impact in women in various roles. So, how, if anyone needs help, how can they reach you? Of course, I'll
Yeah,
I'll add your profile in the show notes for this conversation. In other ways, how can they reach you?
yeah. So, Satish, my main focus is, of course, leadership, transitions. Now, when I
Mm,
talk of transitions, it can be job loss, change of
mm,
careers, and as I said, post maternity, when you read the
mm,
workforce, retirement, and that is, of course, gender neutral. Anybody can face transitions, and I have had my fair bit of transitions
mm,
from very early in my life. So I cater to people who are undergoing transitions, and then, of course, leadership, and then women leaders and women in general. So, an excellent way to reach me is through LinkedIn.
mm,
Um, and then second, I have my scheduling link on LinkedIn as well. So you don't
mm,
actually need to do anything. My scheduling
mm,
link is there, and we can set up a absolutely free introductory or an exploratory call to see if
mm,
coaching is a right fit for you. If I
mm,
can help, or if I can refer another coach who I feel is a better fit for you. And
mm,
then, secondly, I have my website, which is Co-Champion, and that's also
mm,
linked on my LinkedIn. So
mm,
there is a messaging tool there on my website, which lands straight into my email inbox.
mm.
So yeah, and I'm happy to share my email as well. So these
Amazing.
are some ways people can reach me, and I would appreciate and I would definitely love to talk to as many people as possible, not because I want them as my clients, but because I want to let them know what coaching can do for them. And maybe I'm
Mm.
not the best coach for them, but I would love to help them find the best coach for them.
All right. For all the listeners and viewers, if you feel stuck, if you need help, we have Richa available for us, and I'm sure she will do a great job with you. So please go ahead and check her profile on LinkedIn and click that link to schedule an appointment with her. And Richa, I feel really grateful. I feel really honored and privileged to have this conversation with you. We can go on and on about various subjects. Perhaps we can look at having a part two in future.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I really appreciate your time, and I wish you all the best in your journey of impacting people's lives and changing the world. Thank you so much for your time today, Richa.
Thank you, Satish. What a pleasure it has been knowing you, and then talking to you about these various things that are of common interests and maybe some not. So, thank you for having me, and I look forward to that episode too soon in the future.
All right, lovely. Thank you so much. You take care of yourself. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.